Thank you, Kathy. Sort of a backhanded compliment. Okay, look, we've got Councillor Ross and then Councillor Arthur.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to second this. I presume Councillor Casey's moving it. I just wonder if it should just have across Auckland two words added at the end to emphasise, because there's no question it's not just CBD. Avondale's going through quite a bad patch at the moment in my area, so I'm just happy to second, and if we could just add across Auckland.
Councillor Arthur?
Thank you, Wish. Look, I'm a strong supporter of this, and I wished I had the faith that Councillor Cathy just said about it being eliminated by a certain time, because my concern is this is a growing problem, not only in Auckland, New Zealand, all the world. It's happening. And at the moment, the average 3-bedroom house to rent is about $480 a week, and I believe it'll be $500 by the end of the year. And how many people can afford to stay in those houses? How many will start doubling up and tripling up to live, and how many are going to spill out onto the streets? And whilst this is a great move in the right direction, it's still insufficient type of money to be able to achieve anything that we're doing. But if there's something else that we could do, I think to help the situation, I think we should look at the possibility of greater ablutions in the public area for people like this to use, because I don't see them there, and that's a concern as well. I mean, we've got to look at the health side of this issue and what happens if they're not in those areas. And I'm talking about bathing showers and toilet facilities and all these things. I don't see it. Even this area where a lot of people sleep out here, we may turn around and say it's an AOTS centre, etc. We know, but the average person on the street doesn't know. So I just want to say I support this totally, but I am concerned it's insufficient number for the money. For the problem that is growing in Auckland is not going backwards as far as I can see. Thank you.
Just to address that issue of sort of, resource, of a key part of the responsiveness to this challenge is faith-based organisations. You'll see the churches, I mean, City Mission, most people don't even know City Mission's part of the Anglican Trust. It's part of the Anglican Church, and, so they're out there, of course, LifeWise, standalone charity. Got some very strong links back into the various churches. Monte Cecilia, Catholic, St. Paul's, same. So wherever you see the organisations that are active, and around Salvation Army, what can you say? Wherever you see these groups and organisations that are active in this space, it's faith-based. And one of the things that I did in one of our meetings was to challenge the churches, the 1,000 of them across Auckland, and you could do the same for the temples and the mosques, to each build one house for emergency housing within the environments of the church. Now, some of them are actually already doing this. You'll be surprised. A number of churches and temples around the city have actually got active in the area of emergency housing and homeless housing. So again, it would just be a ratcheting up of the city showing its seriousness to collaboratively work on providing an answer here in a way that doesn't necessitate the underlying major contribution from the ratepayers. Remember, what I'm offering here is within the 2.5 that I am proposing we finalise in this budget. Okay, now I've got Councillor Chris and then Councillor Cam.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. When I first saw this, I looked at it with some reluctance, and I could hear my inner self not really wanting to support this, particularly with our budgets as they are so stretched at the moment. And I did have a conversation, though I didn't really engage in the conversation with my colleague, Councillor Casey, because I think she probably sensed my reluctance as well. But I also walk Queen Street at least twice a day. I'm probably the councillor that does that, and because of my journey, the complete length of Queen Street. And every day I hurdle sleeping bags and Carter Holt Harvey boxes every day. And I'm hurdling more and more sleeping bags and walking around the relief spots, which are an absolute stench of urine. This is on Queen Street, the Golden Mile I'm talking about. This morning I walked Queen Street at 7:15. It had been raining, And already the beggars, as I can just simply term them, and I know they're homeless and they're sleeping rough, are moving into position. It's cruise ship day, so you've got to get your spot early. And they're moving out of the back alleys, outside Prada, outside Gucci, and there's probably by about 9, there'll be 20 or 30 on Queen Street, all the way up to the Civic. But primarily they're in the lower part, which is where the best revenue is. And this has grown, these numbers have grown hugely just in the last 18 months. It's a very big problem. I'm going to be supporting this because we have to respond to a situation which is evidence before me in my daily pattern of movement on Queen Street. And I hear from others that it's happening not just on Queen Street, it's happening all around Auckland. But I'm getting a little bit beyond listening to the new Queen Street chant of a little change, have a nice day, little change, have a nice day. I think we've all heard that. It's quite upsetting. And it's upsetting a lot of Aucklanders. A lot of Aucklanders really want us to act on this. This is a smart way to act on this. So I'll be supporting this. So I'm supporting it in anticipation of Queen Street and at least getting cleaned up where it's overdue.
Councillor Cam and then Councillor Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to come from a perspective of I hear and acknowledge the good work that Councillor Casey has done in over a number of years on this, but I just want to put up the argument, Mr. Mayor, that for me this falls into the area of potential kind of scope creep. And I remember back in the early days of the post-amalgamation, and I raised it yesterday around ATEED, with their push for skills training and jobs, that we were, for those of us that can remember, it was all about facilitating, coordinating, leadership, lobbying. You know, that's where we were putting the skin in the game when it came to skills training and jobs. And the same kind of ethos was put to us around this issue as well. Again, facilitating, coordinating, leadership, lobbying, working with the agencies, working with the government and the shelters and anyone else involved in it. For me, the concern here is not so much the end figure, and I hear what you're saying, that it's within the 2.5% overall rates increase, but the fact that we're moving from a role where we were facilitating, coordinating, providing leadership and lobbying at $50,000 to now asking for 7 times more than that per annum at $360,000 a year. So for me, my concern is that we, on this issue again, as we are with skills training and finding young people jobs, we're getting into not just the facilitating, coordinating rhetoric. We're actually now moving a step closer and moving a step further and putting ratepayers' money, significant ratepayers' money, towards this. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that I hear that it's now a regional issue. I accept that. I spent 5 years dealing with it in parts with the Newmarket Business Association. I think there's very few areas left in Auckland that are exempt of this. But perhaps this would be something that we could really encourage if we wanted to up the funding from the suburban ratepayer, that perhaps it would be better to encourage, not direct because we couldn't, but heart of the city, instead of getting their hoses out and security guards to march these people off and throw them beyond the CBD bounds. Perhaps it would be something that Heart of the City, our biggest business association, which gets $3 or $4 million a year, perhaps it's something that they could actually invest in, given that they arguably are going to be the association in the area that most benefits from this ratepayer injection. So I'll be voting against this. I see the intent of it. I definitely see and respect the need for it. but I just fail to see that it should be something that financially should rest with the wider suburban ratepayers of Auckland. Thank you.
Councillor Kemp, Councillor Linda.
I mean, I agree, we do need to do something, and it's not just in the CBD. I've been out with the community workers under the bridges in Henderson and in Carlaw Park and all the places around Auckland. But I am glad to see that we're not building the houses, that this is around facilitation. And I think that it is up to places like the Ministry of Social Development, Housing New Zealand to address these issues. But I think in the spirit of collaboration, which we are trying to foster more and more, if we can do a central local government development, I'm happy. I just wanted to clarify, I mean, Refuge's job is not to provide emergency housing. As a chairman of one, it's to provide safe housing. And the problem is with the Refuges is that they're being asked to provide emergency housing more long-term, and they can't do it. So I don't want to see creep for them having to provide, you know, medium, short-term emergency housing. They need to do their job and do safe housing, and safety housing. And, you know, if this facilitates some sort of collaboration across the sector with government, then I'm happy with that. Because it clearly is becoming a problem. I mean, we've got it right on our doorstep when we come in the back door of the town hall. We have a group of people that sleep there. They air their sleeping bags in the morning in the sun when it's sunny, and they smoke their whatever they're smoking. You know, we have it, see it all the time. So I think we do need to do something, but I don't think it's our job to build the houses.
Okay. All right.
I'd just like to respond to something that Chris Darby said, just to correct him a little bit, that not all beggars are homeless. And you were using the two words interchangeably. So there is a problem with begging, but this is addressing the homeless issue.
Okay, Councillor Mike.
Yes, I was going to say that myself, Mr Mayor and members. Not all beggars are homeless, and not all homeless folk are beggars, but there is quite a co-relationship. And if you recall, a couple of years ago, I was landed with the unenviable task of chairing the Public Safety, Public Nuisance bylaw, and was confronted with begging in particular, and was surprised to realise that actually the word begging was never ever mentioned in any bylaw. So we had to recognise that word and enable officers to regulate and deal with nuisance begging, and by that getting them medical attention and getting them into homes. And so no point in having a bylaw that enables that if there is a problem providing homes for these people. And so I am supporting this. I take on board Councillor Darby's comments about what's happening on Queen Street, and I have to say, despite all the uproar on the Herald, and I think even my good friend Brian Rudman accused me of kicking beggars, the problem doesn't seem to have gone away with the new regulations. But it's not the same thing, but there is a strong co-relationship, and in order to deal with the problem, we have to support Councillor Casey's initiative and provide some funding to assist the homelessness problem. Thank you.
Right, I've got Councillor George.
Yeah, I've got an amendment, or just an addition I want to put up there. Well, put it up as an amendment, that applicable Auckland Council bylaws to deal with homeless people be reviewed. And I think Councillor Penrose will second that.
Yeah.
And because I think it should go part and parcel with what Councillor Casey's put up, what's been moved. So I'll move that as an amendment. I'll talk to it. Mr Mayor, you know, we've had the mayoral task force on alcohol and safety in the CBD, And that started in the first term of this council, led by you and Councillor Penrose, and I have kept that that going. And we meet a number of people from the CBD and from a whole host of backgrounds, mainly in the entertainment but alcohol area, and that has, I think, produced some very good results. And maybe it's time that we also, the council, took a lead here, because it's the time that alcohol task force is the time that we actually see the police. They always turn up at those meetings and contribute in a very positive way, and I think that's helped in relation to the city centre host charter, which has been developed. The council officers do a very good job there. So why I'm saying this is that, you know, I hear that our bylaws at the current time don't have the teeth that are required. And I think that we need to up our act there. We've got the, we've had involvement with the Alcohol and Drug Treatment Court and the New Beginnings Court. They're new innovations that have been set up in the court system. And I think, you know, this council played a lead role, or a role in setting up those two courts. Councillor Filipina was involved in the with the Alcohol and Drug Treatment Court. And, you know, unless you can do something to get these people actually to court, and that is, you won't get the assistance. But, you know, through the New Beginnings Court, people have gone there, and because they're under some compulsion to do something, they've actually changed their lives, their outlook for life considerably, and they've actually ended up employed in meaningful work, and their health's improved in other areas of their lives as well. So I do think that it's time that we did have an improvement in relation to dealing with those people as far as our bylaws are concerned, and I ask that councillors support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay. I think, just Councillor George, I'd just take it as a separate addition.